and welcome. I'm Olga Osaulenko and you're watching Head to Head on UATV. The United Nations considers gender equality one of the top goals for sustainable development. What are the global challenges that women face today, and what do Ukrainian women have to deal with? To discuss this, we're joined in the studio by Olga Osaulenko, Program Coordinator for UN Women in Ukraine. Hello, and thank you for being with us. So, Ms. Osaulenko, what are the major issues that Ukrainian women face?
So to start with, gender equality is one of the basic human rights. There is also lots of evidence that says that actually gender equality boosts economic development, growth, but, however, all over the world, there is no country that has actually achieved gender equality. And Ukraine here is not an exception. Women continue facing different aspects of inequalities, including wage gap, sexual harassment, gender-based discrimination, limited political participation. Thus, in Ukraine, for example, you can also see those manifestations. You can see that the wage gap is up to 25%, that 22% of women in the reproductive age has at least once in a lifetime faced physical or sexual violence, most often from intimate partner. We have only 12% of women in the parliament, while the global average is about 22%. This is still far from the parity, but we are lagging behind even the global average. While we have 53% of women in Ukrainian population, they are not equally represented at the top decision-making positions. As I said, they face different manifestations of inequalities, and the deep root causes of this situation are the stereotypes, the stereotypical attitudes about the roles of a woman and a man in society.
Yes, in society and in family,
yes,
in
exactly.
family traditions,
in
basically.
Personal and professional domains, both.
Is there some ranking in the world scale?
Yes, there is the global gender gap index that, if I'm not mistaken, places Ukraine at the 57th position. This is the latest data, so it means
that... Out of how many countries?
Out of 160-something countries, yeah. I was not preparing the statistics for today, but still it shows that we are lagging far behind. And the factors that bring us to up this grade is the education attainment, because women in the area of education, they are more or less well off. So women are well educated in Ukraine. They are usually even more educated, an average woman, than an average man. But when it comes to how it is reflected in the professional development, so it's not. So you see that those gaps in the participation in top level decision making, in the at the level of both the state, the country, if we take the parliament, if we take women among the ministries, and if we look at the decentralized communities, we also see that when it comes to the heads of the communities, women are about 10% of the whole amalgamated communities in Ukraine.
What does your organization, UN Women in Ukraine, has to deal with this kind of challenges?
So we have prioritized, UN Women prioritized three major areas, thematic areas of intervention for the next 5 years for us in Ukraine. The first one is women's participation and governance. So it means that we will look at how women's needs are reflected in the reforms processes, how women participate in decision-making processes. We also will look at the elimination of violence against women, mostly at the prevention part of it, and we will work with the Women, Peace and Security agenda in Ukraine, which is very relevant because of the ongoing conflict that we still have, and that has great influence on the also inequalities. It has aggravated those existing inequalities before the conflict that are now even worse.
And what are the project or the programs that are just recently, the most recent projects being launched worldwide to combat basically gender inequality?
Well, there are lots of projects. Many development partners, UN and non-UN organizations work with the issue of gender equality. We, as UN Women, implement different kinds of projects. We cooperate with different stakeholders, both at the national level, government and civil society representatives to really establish effective partnership, establish coordination in order to implement the projects in different areas together. So in Ukraine, we work with the reforms. We have one program that looks at how gender equality is mainstreamed in the reforms processes. We also work with one of the most important conventions for gender equality for women's rights. It's the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women. We work in the east of Ukraine with the conflict-affected populations. We look at how women are participating in the decentralized local communities at the decision-making levels. We work with the prevention of violence against women. So, yeah, quite a broad scope of activities that we are now implementing to really support Ukraine towards advancement of women's rights and gender equality.
And right now, I would like to focus a bit on the project He for She. The first day of this project is March 7th, as far as I know, and it is very fresh in Ukraine, but it's already being implemented in the world scale. So,
yes.
Would you please present it?
He for She is not so much a project, it's more a solidarity movement. It has been launched in September 2014 globally by the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the Goodwill Ambassador Emma Watson. So this solidarity movement really brings men and boys into the discussion about gender equality.
So the target group are men?
Yes. So the He for She really provides, first of all, a systemic approach and a platform for engaging men into the discussion of gender equality.
Is this online platform or offline?
So yeah, there is a website. The website really provides you with an overview of how broad the He for She movement is now, how it expanded, and it also provides you with an opportunity to register, to make a commitment, and to become a He for She champion or He for She advocate. So the key objective is to really raise awareness about the importance of gender equality, importance of empowerment of women, and to, as I said, to bring men, because we can't discuss the issue of gender equality with only half of the population. We really need to bring men and boys on board. And those harmful stereotypes that I mentioned in the beginning, that are the root causes of all the inequalities, they target both women and men. So it's not only women who are under the influence of harmful stereotypes, men are also there. And the He for She movement is launched on the 7th of March. We really want to bring Ukraine, to make Ukraine join this exciting endeavor. Now, all over the world, there are about 3 billion He for She champions. Among them, you can see heads of different states, heads of like presidents of Sweden, Japan, Rwanda, and other countries, heads of businesses, and just ordinary people who make a commitment to promote gender equality, to advance women's rights in their personal life, and most importantly, at the structural level, at the communities that they that they live.
So basically, celebrities and dignitaries, they do support this movement a lot.
Yes.
Well, which brings more audience to this movement as well, which is very nice. But speaking about Ukraine, you said that March 7th is the first day, and although Ukraine has just started its journey in this He for She movement, I already looked through the website, and there is a list of commitment leaders, so to say. So on the first place is Rwanda, on the second place is the United States, and then Cameroon. So what I observed is, but also there is some Ukrainian statistics, because we have already almost 1,000 people who made a commitment to he for she movement, and this is already exciting. But what tendency did I observe? I saw that in Rwanda, in USA, and Cameroon, basically they have more men involved. Yes, they have like 160,000 men and only 38,000 women involved, or 100,000 men involved in this moment in USA, and only over 30,000 women. But in Ukraine, it's almost equal, almost 500 of women and 500 men.
Well, that's interesting, because really, as you said, we haven't launched the he for she solidarity movement yet, but we made an announcement on our Facebook page, and we already targeted some opinion leaders, young people, singers, fashion industry. So these are the self-starters, I would say, the initial supporters. And it's great that we have both men and women, because as we say, gender equality is about both women and men. So we will see how it goes as soon as we launch the campaign. We really hope to come very high at these top countries that have most of the he for she supporters, because we really believe that it will greatly raise awareness about the issue, and it will be very beneficial to our society to talk about those issues, to involve men, decision makers, business people, different kind of people into the discussion about gender equality, because as we keep saying, it's about men and women.
Well, as far as I know, also in this program you have action kits launched, and do they provide some direct tasks how to achieve this gender equality? Well, not to achieve, but how to fight the gender discrimination, so to say.
Well, we provide an opportunity to make a commitment. So each individual who registers on the website is supposed to make a commitment. So it's not only about clicking the button and registering. It's about coming up with a list of your commitments or promises that you are going to do in your personal or professional sphere of life. So, for example, during the launch, we will have a media corner. We will provide an opportunity for everyone who wishes to join to make a commitment in front of the camera, and to really say what concrete actions you will do to advance gender equality. So it's not only about words, it's actually about the commitments.
And which Ukrainian celebrities or well-known figures support you?
So now we partner with Dmytro Shurov, is a famous singer, and also his son Lev. They are one of our partners and advocates for gender equality. And we also target this year, as we launch the campaign, we will target young people. We will target creative industry. We will partner with Docu Days, with Kyiv Half Marathon, with Fashion Week. So we will try to reach out to mostly to young people, people who are more likely to really still be influenced by the campaign through these creative approaches.
Well, generally, Ukraine, the whole country, is currently going through major structural reforms, and it is very interesting how well is the country incorporating this gender equality basically in those reforms.
Well, as we see the mainstreaming of gender equality commitments into the reform, and most importantly the needs of women into the process of reforms, is not perfect. We are really glad with the partnership that we have now at the top decision-making level with the Vice Prime Minister for Euro and Euro-Atlantic integration, who is assigned with responsibility for coordination of the gender equality policy in Ukraine. And now that we have the Gender Equality Commissioner, the position created and Katerina Levchenko appointed, and this is actually that goes in line with the recommendations of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action to put the gender equality coordination at the high decision-making level. This is really the partnership, the promising partnership that will help us to make the reforms gender sensitive.
And could you be more precise on the topic about this governmental commissioner for gender policy? How can the situation change, and how will it help Ukrainian women in terms of gender equality and equal opportunities?
It's very important, like I said in the beginning, it's very important to have political will in place and to really have a committed, dedicated person and the position for this person, so the functional part of it established. And now that this position for the commissioner has been created by the government decree, and we comply with the recommendations of the Beijing, and we really have this political will in place. So this is the promising measure that will allow us to move forward with legislative changes, with all the initiatives that we want to put in place to ensure effective coordination. And so it is very important to have political will in place and to have the dedicated position and dedicated person who will be able to coordinate all the activities around gender equality in the country, because the government entities, the ministries, they have the gender equality part of their work. Sometimes the awareness is not in place, sometimes they want to mainstream gender, but they don't know how, and it's very good to really have effective coordination, to bring everyone on board, to establish effective partnership, and to also have an understanding that involvement of civil society, of international organizations is very important to push this agenda forward.
And the last topic to discuss, to bring it up, the International Women's Day on the 8th of March. Should we celebrate it in Ukraine or not? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, we definitely should celebrate, but not by giving women flowers and congratulating them with the fact that they are women, or they are beautiful, or they have been doing their homework throughout the year. It's not, this day is not about that. This is the day when we have to look at how well we are progressing with gender equality and women's empowerment, what are our achievements, what are the gaps that we still have, and how we are going to close those gaps, with whom we are going to partner and how we are going to move forward. The International Women's Day is an official UN day that has been established in 1977 by UN Secretary General. This is the day that is about women's rights, is about gender equality, and is about how well we are progressing. This year, the global theme of the International Day is about rural women and the discrimination that they face. And all the countries all over the world look at how well they are progressing in this regard. Ukraine also has issues with the rights of rural women, and even the CEDAW committee that you mentioned earlier today recommended to Ukraine to really improve the infrastructure for rural women, to improve their access to health, to education, and to continue working in this regard.
Well, let's hope that Ukraine will just only prosper in achieving gender equality. And thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you.
That was Olga Osaulenko, UN Women Program Coordinator in Ukraine. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I'm Olga Osaulenko. Goodbye.